So what really is going on with Russia? Well, nothing any different to what would normally be going on at any point in this time frame and this illusion. All we're looking at again is the playing out of the same techniques and spells and mind control and physicality, of course, when it comes to bombing and all the rest of it, that we would have seen throughout history. It's the same predator force in control of those particular vehicles, whether it's Putin or any of our Western leaders, because you've got to pay attention to what they're saying, because whatever they're saying in opposition to what they're telling you is going on, then you'll spot the agenda at work. All of these Western leaders being outspoken against apparent fascism or a dictatorship such as what's happening with Russia, while losing memory when it comes to what they've done over the years, going back not least centuries and before, but also in recent years. The fascism on the streets of Britain and on the streets of Australia and Canada, etc. is total contradiction and hypocrisy, as always. So, you know, all these threats by Putin, nuclear war or nuclear threats, you know, it would be very foolish, of course, for any nation, any superpower, and the real superpowers haven't really come together yet, but for any superpower to carry out such threat, it would lead to total devastation, which on one side of the coin, I suppose, you would think that the cabal would welcome that, because that would mean they could spend years and years and years building up the infrastructure in a different way. They haven't got years. They haven't got years. Time is running out. That's why time is speeding up. That's why it feels as though there is no time, because it's rather like knowing, if you're in their position or in a magician's position, you know that the show is coming to an end. You know that time is an illusion anyway, and we're living in an illusion, but they're trying to bring time or the date for their agenda nearer towards them much quicker, with all of the spells that are being cast and all of the mantras and the media manipulation, all of the weapons at their disposal, all the pieces on the chessboard. They're all being focused on at the right time to be able to try and bring time forward. A possible nuclear war, or fear of another pandemic, or fear of any illusion, fear itself for most people. We can understand that as well. But while that's going on, if you can see through it, you can see that time is speeding up, and we're running out of time ourselves as well, because of this hurtling towards us so-called Kabbalistic deadline that many have talked about for decades. So I have no doubt in my mind that if something does occur, and I did say that February would bring us some huge event, and I suppose there's been a shift in the narrative that I was sensing. I don't think there's not going to be an occasion where they're going to try and introduce another pandemic. I think that's coming as well at some point. But we've got to rise above all of this, because all of this stuff that has been thrown at us is bullshit. So whatever does happen, I remember seeing many years ago in my youth a vision of something striking the sea. I don't know whether it was a meteorite or whether it was a missile, and I was given this image in the 80s, and from this image came huge changes. So I wouldn't be surprised to find there is some kind of flexing of muscles and threats, and some kind of divine intervention as well to go along with all of this, because I don't think we are alone in what we're facing. And as you know from things I've said over the years, we are much bigger than this time construct anyway. We are pure energy, we are spirit, and we have our ancestors from the other side that are part of who we are, that are coming back to meet us while we face this adversary. So based on everything I've just been saying about Russia and about the change in narrative, really more than anything, is that we're also in that phase. It's called Mammarian in Rome as well. It was the Mammarian Festival between the 14th and 15th of March, and also the time of Purim in the Hebrew calendar, which is the end of the last month of their year before we get to Passover. So that's important as well, because in that particular for that particular marker, it's known as the time of the scapegoat, and they did the same in Rome, where they would put a goat out to be carrying the woes and the sins of the world as such. It's where you get the sheep idea from, or the lamb as well, for carrying the sins of the world, which is part of the Judaic Christian calendar as such. But yeah, so I would watch the dates of between the 14th and the 18th of March as well, for particular changes in escalation or changes in the narrative as we get towards that period. There's also a full moon on the 18th of March. So I'll go back to what I said a couple of months ago, when I said that we were in the midst of a choice. We had this wide and easy path, and we have the symbolic of the narrow path, to find out more about what is relevant and important to us as human beings. And one of the things that I find deeply important and relevant to life is this knowingness and this ability to reflect in a state of peace, something that I've been trying to do for most of my adult life, especially when I've been walking in nature, whether it's been the Cathar trails or more close to home over the years in other places around the world. That inner peace is really important, because you can't be at war if you're in peace. If you're in a state of peace, there is no state of war. It's really simple. It's like saying love and hate, or love and fear, truth or lies, don't go into the same pot and can't come together. They're both not able to dwell in each other's presence. You're either at one with nature, or you are apart from nature. You're either at one with your fellow human beings, or you see yourself as being apart from your fellow human beings. And that's the problem. It's easy to wage war, and it's easy to get human beings to wage war against each other, because there's an inherent nature embedded in the matrix of life, which is in the codes that are part of nature as well, part of the illusion. But if you realize that we come from a place which is much greater and much more spiritual, a heavenly place, then why would you choose war? You would only choose a state of peace, which is why Christ himself said the kingdom of heaven is within, because that's the place where you are when you are in peace with the world, and you're not fighting things and trying to control things. And again, the control comes back to the same thing. For every person that wants to control another person, it reflects in the outer world as control, one nation over another nation. Relationships of any kind, it's all the same. Macrocosm, microcosm. Which brings me to the last part of this. At some point very soon in April, possibly around the Passover, around Easter, I'm going to be doing another meditation and this one will be focusing on peace. So I'm hoping you can join me and Andy Vaughan, who's going to organise it over in Ireland, and we'll be doing that again, looking at inner peace. Peace be with you.